Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. Today in this video, I will be explaining the reasons why Aurora Monroe, or Storm from the X-Men, why her mohawk absolutely sucks. As well as I will be breaking down the reasons that she should be wearing dreadlocks more than any other hairstyle to help convey who and what type of character she is. So without any more further ado, let us begin. 1. Okay, so here's what I understand to be a brief history of Storms Mohawk and why I think it's hideous. So apparently Storm's character was changing and she became more unlike her normal self back in the early 1980s. In 1983 X-Men comic, Storm uses her powers to stop some kidnappers, one of them being Silver Samurai. Storm electrocutes Silver Samurai and the other kidnappers, realizes that she used way too much power, and draws the electricity back into her own body. I believe this is part of the thing that happened to her that temporarily caused her to lose her powers. I'm a little bit sketchy on that, but yeah. So it's during this time that she spends a lot of time with a character named Mariko. I hope I got that right. And it's during this time that with Mariko that Storm becomes edgier, more aggressive, supposedly angrier, etc. A few lines later, finally there's a big reveal in a later issue of the X-Men comic where she shows her new mohawk. And Kitty Pryde was severely unimpressed, and so was I. I do not like that design at all. And as far as I know, that's the brief synopsis of where Storm's Mohawk came from. Although many people online have stated that these X-Men issues in the 1980s, a lot of things that were done inside them were basically just a big joke by the writers. So apparently even the writers really didn't take this seriously. It was just them playing around with stuff and doing silly stuff with their characters and changing stuff around, but not being that serious about it. And there's a much longer and more detailed explanation for why Walter Simonson gave Storm a mohawk, and I have it linked in the description box below. So go ahead and check that out. But all that doesn't change the fact that I find her mohawk to be absolutely grotesque and hideous for her design. Number 2, why Storm's mohawk just doesn't work. Okay, I'm going to break it down. The most simplest thing is that it's unnatural looking, and here's a couple of things that people need to realize about Storm's mohawk. 2A, it's straightened hair. An African woman with straightened hair. Let that sink in. 2B, it's going down the center of her skull in a way that is not very common in East Africa, which is where she's actually born from and where she lives after her parents die. But the production studios that produce all the films and even some of the anime series, they tried to, the anime series didn't do it too much. No, I'll take that back. It was only the films, as far as I know. But the guys at the production studios that made the films, it felt like they just tried to push or force her mohawk or kind of like get us acclimated to it. And they try to bring that into her African background. And as far as I'm concerned, it fails. It fails so badly. So no, that's not going to work for me. 2C, it doesn't frame her head well. I don't know about anyone else, but I've noticed that for years that black folks in general, you try to do the whole mohawk thing and it doesn't work. It doesn't seem to work with our head shape, I noticed. At least this is what it looks like to me. It doesn't frame the African head shape very nicely. As far as I can see, we look much better with dreadlocks, braids, or afros, or any type of hairstyle that's more similar to what Africans have been creating for thousands of years. Something about the natural curly hair just fits better with the aesthetics of African people, black folks in general, in Africa and in the diaspora, let alone black athletes and black superheroes. 2D. As I alluded to just now, it's not very African. when one looks up ancient African hairstyles, I'm going to link to this in the description also. If you go to look through that list of images of the ancient African hairstyles, it's very quick to notice that what we call a mohawk is not among them. And I've looked through that list, that image gallery, multiple times. We don't see anything that looks that much like a mohawk. And the ones that look kind of like it are still like braids or dreadlocks. And they still don't look smooth the way hers does. So, no. What we see in that gallery, again, linked in the description, are intricate updos, spiky hair, spiraling hair, dreadlocks, afros, and a whole assortment of hairstyles most of us have never seen nor heard of. Like I said, check the description and you'll see what I'm talking about. 2E. The mohawk does not symbolize her power very well, as far as I'm concerned. Aurora Monroe has the power or the ability to control weather conditions. Weather conditions such as rain, snow, temperature, wind currents, lightning, etc. She can even conjure up tornadoes, thunderstorms, or even hurricanes if she tries hard enough. She can make it rain to save people from a drought, and she also can cause a drought. This wild, chaotic, powerful yet smooth, peaceful yet dangerous, fluid but fierce, helpful yet destructive power needs to be symbolized in her design. And a mohawk does not do these elements, or the way she's supposed to control these elements, doesn't do it justice symbolically at all. Dreadlocks are what she needs. They look better on the African skull structure, and they make more sense both aesthetically and symbolically. Let me explain. Number 3. Why should Aurora Monroe, Storm of the X-Men, have dreadlocks? Let's break it down. 3A. Dreadlocks can be considered extremely Afrocentric, as in many hundreds, yes I said hundreds, of African ethnic groups have been wearing some version of dreadlocks for thousands of years, as far as we know. And they wore them without being influenced by the outside world. They wore these intricate hairstyles before the rise of colonization or imperialism. They wore these dreadlock hairstyles before being bombarded with outside religions. And they wore them before being heavily conditioned by Western quote-unquote culture. And these ancient African people wore these dreads for religious, ethnic, cultural, and spiritual reasons, many of which are so exotic and so elusive, we in the outside world still don't fully understand them to this day. 3B. It represents a person who is one with the earth and Mother Nature. Very good symbolism. Let me break this down. Dreadlocks are some of the oldest hairstyle that Homo sapiens sapiens wore all over the planet in ancient times. They're most likely the first, what we would call hairstyle, a human being, a Homo sapiens sapien, wore before any other hairstyle was created and or adopted in any given population on the entire planet. So what we call dreadlocks now, they literally are the most natural form of human hair a person could have worn or could wear any time in their lifetime. Also, it's easy to argue that they represent a non-conformity to the modern, clean-shaven, what some would call westernized, Eurocentric style of beauty and aesthetics in and among the African diaspora. Aurora Monroe is African, is she not? Well, then make her look African. And I quote from the Wikipedia article on Rastafarians and why they wear dreadlocks and why their dreadlocks are so important to them, and what the dreadlocks from their standpoint symbolize. And I quote, "They, as in dreadlocks, also reflect a commitment to the Rasta idea of naturalness. Rastas are often critical of black people who straighten their hair, believing that it is an attempt to imitate white European hair, and thus reflects an alienation from a person's African identity. Unquote. And I have that linked in the description also, so that way you can read that for yourself and see what you think about it. 3C. Dreadlocks look symbolically like powerful forces in nature. And I'm surprised people have not noticed this. Weird, but okay. Maybe I just have a weird thinking brain. I don't know. But right now, try to put an image of an older person with much older dreadlocks in your mind, where they're starting to gray a little bit and they're starting to change color with their age. Now, keep that image in your mind. Now, think about seeing a gigantic swarm or family of tornadoes. Think about the arms of a hurricane. Think about the spiraling arms of a galaxy. Each one of these phenomena are massive, powerful, deadly yet beautiful, fearsome yet elegant. They each can be quite destructive and also can be quite creative at the same time in mysterious ways. Notice how each one of these forces of nature, these forces of the universe, on Earth and in the universe itself, in the cosmos, they're all grayish or white, or they're grayish white, or they're multicolored masses of energy and matter that operate according to the laws of physics and the principles of nature. Each of them look very much like locks of grayish white hair swirling through their own section of reality, changing and affecting the environment around them in a powerful and very profound way. Basically, things in nature look like dreadlocks. It's very simple. And again, I'm a little bit surprised that no one seems to have noticed this. But that's what that is. Check it out and see if you see what I'm talking about. Very profound. Very profound. 3D. Dreadlocks would match much better with her design compared to any other hairstyle, as far as I'm concerned. Straight hair never really looked right to me. I might be naive and I might be a little bit nitpicky, so if I miss something and I don't know, someone go ahead and let me know. But I always wondered, why is Storm's hair straight in the first place? She's East African and descended from a line of great and powerful priestess women, if I got that correctly. So I kind of could see why her hair might be a different color from a young age, I think. But I never understood why her hair is straight in her design. Ever since the early versions of Storm, from the comics of decades ago all the way to the X-Men animated, they never really made her hair curly to begin with. I'm wondering why that is. If somebody in the comment section can explain that to me, let me know, and I appreciate that in advance. Now, as far as an afro, nah. It looked too 1970s to me. It would look too disco. It would end up conveying, yes, power and confidence, but it would also give her an image of being a little bit too tough that I don't think would match well with her warm, more friendly, but also very regal and almost mother-like behavior. It's like there's a certain motherliness that her character kind of has that I don't think the afro will convey very well. When I think afro, I think more so someone marching in a group to fight some type of oppression or something. I don't think of someone being one with the earth when I think afro. And also because of the maintenance that afros require, they wouldn't really reflect very well the connection to nature or this idea of being whole and natural and being untamed. So yeah, afros, they have their own beauty behind them, but they're not untamed and natural the way dreadlocks are. At least that's the way I look at the symbolism of what different hairstyles mean from my standpoint. On to the next one. Cornrows. These are the braids that start from the front and go all the way to the back in rows next to each other. They would look too uniform and controlled. And similar to the afro in the way that you have to put too much effort into maintaining them. Something that I don't think matches with this connection with nature. Storm's hair needs to convey her relaxing basically relaxing of Western social norms. Her hair needs to represent her freedom to travel, to grow stronger, to explore, but also it needs to represent her connection with undeveloped, untampered parts of the earth. Cornrows would represent her fighting side in terms of being a warrior woman, but they'll also be way too constrained, way too order looking, as far as I'm concerned. So they're too orderly. Let me put it that way. They don't have that natural, untamed nature look to them, as far as cornrows go. Dreadlocks, yes, they have that. Bald wouldn't work either. Baldness usually represents a renewal of humanity, a resurrection of you, a rewriting of your spirit, a rebirthing of your being. And Storm is not rebirthing in that way. So going bald wouldn't match either. At least not for her character from the way I look at it. And finally, like I said already, I'm going to keep saying it, her mohawk is ugly. I'm sorry, but I want the African female Omega level mutant of X-Men, Ororo Munro, to look African. Straight hair mostly isn't African. There may be some groups of African people that can have straight hair naturally, but they're very few and far between. So, no. Mohawks are not African. Again, if you do the research, they seem to come from a Native American tribe of people that lived right around where I want to say Pennsylvania and New York State meet. Somewhere around that New England area. That's not something that Africans created. That's something that was borrowed and copied from Native Americans. Also, I really do hope this was a joke, but man, stripper jeans, lots of denim, and the retro style boots from the 1980s are not African. She needs to look like someone that would actually hail from that part of the world. And her mohawk design does not do that at all. And finally, as far as dreadlocks being placed on Storm's character design, another thing they can do, they can flow around her in a way that helps the viewer see the effects of her mutant powers. Her mohawk, because of its stiffness, its position, and its size, it doesn't move around as much, so we, the viewers, are not getting as much visualization of what her powers are like when she uses them. If she had her long flowing hair in dreadlocks, the hair itself could be used as a visual aid to help us understand the powers that she possesses. So not only are the dreadlocks more beautiful, more Afrocentric, more Earth-centric, more untamed, more symbolic, and more elegant to look at, they might also be more useful to someone with Storm's abilities, in terms of at least showing and conveying what her power actually is and what it represents when she becomes one with the earth, I guess. Also, if anyone says that they're too long for her to fight with, and they'll get in the way of her being able to see, they can be grabbed or whatever, she could wrap them up, tie them in a ponytail, or even braid them back. And yes, there are real life people who are fighters, warriors, etc., who have had long dreadlocks that did exactly that and fought successfully in whatever championship or combatant thing that they were doing. They did just fine. It was very effective. Wasn't a problem for them at all. They just tied it back, braided it back, put it in updo, and didn't bother them at all when they got into combat. Also, another thing I want to get in on. A brief rant about colorism in Hollywood, or most of the mainstream media in general. Yeah, I'm going to go there. I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. Storm is an African female, an adult African female. She's an African woman. the way she is in the storyline. Therefore, Storm needs to look like an African woman. Not some overly made up, westernized, punk rock black stripper from the 1980s. Ugh. Let me explain. I am black and I am male. And ever since childhood, ever since like around puberty or so, I can also remember that whenever black men were on screen, they for the most part looked black. They looked like any black dude you see on the street. It seemed like everybody was kind of represented in terms of skin tone. But when black women were on the screen, they didn't always look black. Black women on screens in television, in movies, in magazines, in videos, whatever it was, in commercials even, they consistently looked biracial. They were lighter skinned. They looked very Europeanized. They looked like they had a lot of plastic surgery done to them. They looked extremely racially ambiguous. It's like the black dudes look black, but the black women look kind of biracialish, kind of. And that was always kind of confusing and irritating, considering I'm dark skinned and I like a lot of dark skinned women, like Bria Miles or something like that. And it's just like, for a long time, women that look like her or India Ari, you didn't really see them on TV much. And it's like, to this day, that still irritates me that, again, so many black females on screen still seem to be made lighter than they actually are, or they pick light-skinned women only. And it's just like, okay, it's 2018. Like, they can't keep doing the whole light-skin only thing. That's just, it's a throwback to just a very ignorant and just tired, cliche time in America's history of cinema. Like, just stop. Now, let me make this very clear. Obviously, I have nothing against light-skinned and black women. No, that's not it. It's a simple fact of, after a while, it gets really tiresome and ridiculous to see so few women on the screen with the skin tone close to mine, or the skin tone that I prefer, where all of them have to be like Halle Berry's color or lighter. It was always annoying. It always got annoying, and it's still kind of annoying. So hopefully Hollywood gets it together soon. I mean, what they did with Black Panther was pretty good. We finally saw dark-skinned chicks that looked pretty good on camera. So it's like, hopefully things are going to continue on that path of, yeah, they can finally get some roles for different people of African descent, of different skin tones, to do different things on screen and be different characters. We'd love to see that continue to grow over time. But yeah, as far as colorism is dead to me. And if it's not, I hope it dies soon. I'm tired of characters being made lighter on screen as if that's the only acceptable look for a black character to have for an American audience. And I say that to say that if and when a film is produced for Aurora Monroe, Marvel would be wise to use a darker skinned actress to portray her. No excuses. Again, if Marvel can make, and you're going to see the picture of this on the screen as you hear me say this, if Marvel could successfully make the Dora Milaje look awesome and kind of sexy on screen, and the Black Panther film was a huge success, and obviously when you look at the demographics, for the film to be a success, there was definitely a large white audience that obviously didn't object to Okoye's design or the design of any of the other Dora Milaje. So if that can happen, and it did happen for the past 6 weeks, everybody liked Black Panther, almost everybody gave it good reviews, and the black female characters in there not only were dark skinned, but they were very diverse in what they did. They didn't fulfill any stereotypes. They didn't do anything negative or dumb that was cliched. I'm going to say this very, very clearly. If Marvel was able to pull this off with Black Panther, then quite seriously and very, very frankly, they have absolutely no excuse to keep hiring only light-skinned actresses to play important characters like Storm in a future film. Let me say that again. If they pulled off what they did with Black Panther for the past 6 weeks, with the black female characters looking the way they do, if they did that, then they have absolutely no excuse whatsoever to keep hiring only light-skinned actresses to portray an awesome character like Storm, Aurora Munro, of the X-Men. Quite literally, by now, they should know better. No excuses. And one more thing. Yes, there is an update on the Storm film of the future. I think it might still be happening, so I'm crossing my fingers. But I did some digging, had some people tell me in the comment section, did some research, and yes, it is official that Marvel Studios has reacquired rights to the X-Men. So, yes, you heard that right. Only a few months ago, Marvel Studios successfully reacquired rights to have the X-Men franchise in the film. So I can't go into details because that made this video too long, but I'll put links in the description. There's going to be like 3 or 4 of them that breaks down how Marvel now has the right to put the X-Men characters back into a film if they want to produce one. That means now it's looking a little more possible that Storm could get a film in the next couple of years. So we got this reacquiring of the rights for X-Men, and we had the success of Black Panther. So it's looking pretty good so far. So hopefully things keep going in the right trajectory. So Disney's not doing everything stupid. There are some things that Disney's doing that may be helpful. So there you go. So now that they got the rights to X-Men back, I'm really keeping my fingers crossed and anticipating some type of green light for an actual screenplay for Aurora Munro, Storm of the X-Men. Just gotta wait and see. Hopefully it's produced and it is massively popular and successful at the box office if and when it premieres. And that's it. That's all for now. Please like, subscribe, share, and donate to support this channel. You have a nice day. I'm out. Peace.